Alright, you should have a constructive response process paper that looks like this screen at this time. While I'm going through this problem, yes, you need to know how to do this math, and you should know how to do this math already, but that's not the main part of this station. The main part of this station is knowing how I figured out how to get the answer, so you'll be able to grade other constructive responses to know how many points are given for various parts of the question. I think if you find how easy they allow points to be given, you would start writing a whole lot more in your response boxes instead of just simple answers you have been giving me. Alright, so all I'm going to be doing is working this problem. So to start, I'm going to read the problem. It says, the attendance for the last 4 years at a country fair is shown in the table. So they have the table of the last 4 years in their attendance. It says this year the first 20% of people attending the fair will receive a raffle ticket. Of the people who receive raffle tickets, 1/3 will receive a small prize. Okay. Then there's 3 bullets. Basically, anytime there's a bullet, you should have bullets, and you're giving 3 different answers. I don't care if you feel like you're repeating an answer, give 3 different answers. They bulleted it, means it's important, they want 3 different somethings. First bullet says, based on the data in the table, determine a reasonable estimate of the number of people who will attend this year's fair. Explain how you found your estimate. Second bullet, use your estimate to find the approximate number of people who will receive a small prize at this year's fair. Third bullet, show your work or provide an explanation on how you found the approximate number of people who will receive a small prize at this year's fair. Okay, the words above the box always tells you what they want typed in your final answer box. Right now, this is our process paper, not what we're really typing in the box. But if I was to type in the box, all they want in my box is to enter the answers for these bullets and your work or explanation in the box provided. So I need answers, 3, and your work, 3, for each of them is what they would want. Alright, so I don't have a whole page to work on here, so I am going to flip to a blank page. You will just start working in this box below and flip to the back as you need more space. I'm just going to flip to a blank page, and I got a blank page ready, but I need the question. The question says, first bullet, I need to find, based on the data in the table, determine a reasonable estimate of the number of people who will attend this year's fair. Explain how you found your estimate. That's all I'm working with right now. So, I see my table here. Estimate means round. It doesn't have to be exact. That's going to be nice. They're not looking for an exact answer. So, I can round this any way I want. So I'm going to take this table and rewrite it in my process box, paper box, of what numbers I'm going to use. They need to know what's going on in my head, so I'm going to tell them what's going on in my head. So I'm going to my blank page. For year 1, I'm going to round to the nearest hundreds and use 9,300. For the second year, round to the hundreds. You could have rounded to the nearest thousands. You could have rounded to the nearest whole number. Any way you round, but you at least need to show them how you rounded. So I rounded to the nearest hundred, so by me writing this, shows them that. In year 4, I rounded to 13,300. So here's what I rounded to. Estimate doesn't have to be exact. They want to know what estimate am I going to use for year 5. Well, I notice that it's continually increasing. I'm going to see if it's continually increasing at the same rate. So I'm going to subtract those two numbers, and I see I get 1,100. I'm going to subtract these two numbers and see that I get 1,700. Subtract those two, and I see that I get 1,200. So I didn't get the same number, but they're pretty close. So what I'm going to do is take an average of all these differences. When I take an average of all these differences, I can add that average because it's continually going up. So I'd want to hopefully year 5 goes up too. I want to see about how much it would go up. So I'm going to average these 3 increases. When I add those together, I find it to be 4,000. My pen's acting funny. To find an average, we will add everything up and divide by the number of numbers. I had 3 numbers, so I'm going to divide by 3. And I find my calculator gives me this. Well, that's a yucky estimate. Estimate means we don't have to be exact, so I'm just going to call that 1,300. So I'm going to say that for year 5 it's going to go up 1,300. So I'm going to come over here for year 5. I'm going to add 1,300 to the 13,300 and find that year 5 I should expect 14,600 people. Okay, so when I fill in constructive responses, I like to have a little math work. Yeah, this would be kind of hard to type in, but if it's hard, I don't care. I want all the points I can get. So I'm going to try to type this in the best I could, and I'm also going to follow up with just a short sentence. And I'm going to bullet that sentence to show I'm answering the first bullet. They asked to determine a reasonable estimate of the number of people who will attend this year's fair. Explain how you found your answer. I'm going to say, I found my estimate. I'm going to get a text box and type here since my pen isn't working too well. Okay, I just used a text box to type my answer because my pen wasn't working. And for my word part of the answer, I wrote, I found my estimate for this year's fair to be about 14,600. I found this by taking an average of the last 4 years' attendance. Those are not great ELA sentences. But guess what? ELA is not great on this. Math people are. So it really doesn't matter. As long as you've got the math information in it, they could care less. That is just the first bullet. You might need to pause it so you can finish writing this down. Now I need to go to the second bullet, which says, use your estimate to find the approximate number of people who will receive a small prize at this year's fair. am really, never mind. So it says the first 20% of people attending the fair receive a raffle ticket. Of those people, 1/3 of them will have a small prize. Well, I just found an estimate of how many people is going to attend this year, to be 14,600. It says use that estimate. So no matter if I came up with a wrong estimate on the first bullet, if I use it on the second bullet, they're going to say, oh, okay, they know what they're doing here. So use whatever number you came up with. For me, my estimate was 14,600. So I'm going to go back over to a blank my process paper. You might have to flip to the back. And now I'm going to show how I got the amount for the small prize. And I'm looking at year 5, and my estimate I used for year 5 was 14,600. I need to find 20% of that. Get raffle tickets. And then 1/3 of them get a prize. So 1/3 of this 20% group. So I first have to find 20% of that number. So I first would show that I know I need to find 20% of 14,600. We just got off our percent unit. You can set percents up as a proportion over 100, part over whole. This is the whole amount, so I'm finding part of it. Cross multiply. When I cross multiply and divide by 100, I get 2,920. That's 20%. Okay, 20% get raffle tickets. So this amount of people get raffle tickets. Then 1/3 of this number get a prize. So I need to find 1/3 of something. So again, you multiply. I'm going to multiply. Well, I'm going to tell them that these get raffle. My pen's going to act up again. Now I need to multiply this number times 1/3. This is a whole number. To multiply fractions, whole numbers understood to be over 1. Multiply straight across. 2920. You flip out over fractions, but it ends up being an easy problem. Top times a 1. 1 times 3 gives me 3. All I have to do here is divide those two, because a fraction bar is division. And I get 973.3 repeating. Well, again, they said find an estimate. So I'm going to say that rounds to about 973. Or I could have said 970 or 975. Whatever I wanted my estimate to be. Then I did the math work for them. Now I'm going to give them some words so I make sure they know what I want my answer to be and how I got there. So I'm going to type. I found about 973 people will receive a small prize based on my estimate. So I answered bullets 2. Bullet 3 says, show your work or provide an explanation of how you found your approximate number of people you will receive a small prize for at this year's fair. So basically bullet 2 and 3 ended up kind of being the same thing. If I was taking this test, I would do another bullet and in words say, the above explanation shows how I found the number of people who will receive a small prize. I would always give them 3 comments for each bullet, or I'm sorry, a comment per bullet. So in this case, 3. But now you're going to use this sheet. Now that we've solved the problem, you're going to look at 3 other people's responses. And remember, it's an estimate. Everybody's answer could be different. So you're going to be looking at their responses. They're not going to get 973. Chances are they won't get that. But you're going to look at their responses and the grading rubric and see what they might score. You're going to first use the talking points page and go over the talking points. Team leader will guide you through those talking points to look and compare at 3 different people's responses on how they came up with an answer on these problems.